Have you ever come across a case so unsettling that it forcibly reserves a space in your mind? Someone mentions something that triggers a memory, and suddenly goosebumps are creeping down your back. Maybe you visit a location that is eerily similar to a crime scene you read about, and your stay becomes less than enjoyable. Hotels are notorious for giving me this sensation. Each time I stay at one, I almost dread turning on the water in the bathroom, as I'm worried it might come out a nasty black color. If you're familiar with the high-profile case we will be discussing today, you might understand why I experience this seemingly irrational fear. Today, we will be talking about the tragic death of Elisa Lam. As previously mentioned, this case was widely covered in the media back in 2013 and has also been the topic of numerous YouTube videos. Combating the countless theories that have attempted to explain her passing is not my goal with this video. I only seek to present a perspective I found soothing when considering it an explanation for her tragic end. For those of you that have somehow never heard of this case, or those who need a refresher, if you'd like a thorough summary, there are many YouTube videos you can check out. Looking back, it was an unfortunate perfect storm of unprofessionalism by the police and careless speculation by outsiders that deprived Elisa of a somewhat peaceful passing. As contentious as this mystery was, most people nowadays would at least agree with classifying her end as a tragedy. But seeing as there is still uncertainty involving this case, the general population are left to speculate on why Elisa was in the water tank. Of course, not all theories should be entertained, and it seems that the internet has had its fill of baseless claims when it comes to the Elisa Lam case. Recently, a documentary covering the events surrounding Elisa's death was released, to mostly negative reception. Receiving 2 stars out of 5 on Google reviews, Crime Scene: The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel was released on Netflix and was divisive to say the least. A common criticism surfaces in most reviews: the documentary draws on too long. Perhaps the directors were just being thorough. It seems so, but on the wrong topics. Reviewers claim it makes an effort to highlight the various theories for Elisa's death that internet sleuths came up with, resulting in journeying down nonsensical rabbit holes that offer no real resolution. Some even believed the documentary to be an attempt to exploit Elisa's death and frame it as a murder mystery, when in actuality, no signs of foul play were found on the scene. After watching this documentary, Human Plumber, the Reddit user that posted the theory we will cover today, agreed that it was overly sensationalized. And yes, they do acknowledge the unfortunate nature of their username in relation to this case. In any case, they proceed to offer, in my opinion, a more plausible and humanizing theory to what actually caused Elisa to get into a water tank in a place thousands of miles away from home. Posted in r/mystery, Human Plumber writes that their love of books might have led them to a theory on why Elisa decided to climb into the water tank. Describing themselves as an overthinking introvert, they start off the post by saying that they felt a strange connection to Elisa, even though they never personally knew her. They can relate to how Elisa used social media as an outlet to work out her feelings and discover things about herself through her interactions with the world. From their point of view, Elisa was a dreamer who was working to make her life into the vivid reality that already existed in her mind. Human Plumber approached the tragedy of Elisa Lam differently. They imagined a scene where Elisa wasn't being chased by a murderer or forced up the roof by something supernatural, but instead traveled there of her own accord, with the intention of it being a positive experience. Imagine this: Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old college student on a trip in the City of Angels, on her last night there, traveling to the roof of her hotel to see the stars. Elisa, a bright individual, wouldn't risk getting caught by taking a very likely monitored access door. Instead, she would use a fire escape that allowed for easy access to the hotel's roof. This explains why and how she would travel to the roof. What possesses her to willingly get into one of the water tanks there? For Human Plumber, specific pieces of literature gave them insight on a possible reason. They theorized that Elisa willingly entered the water tank as a form of meditation. Human Plumber was struck by the similarity of Elisa Lam's end and a specific event in a literary work by Japanese author Haruki Murakami. In his book, The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, Murakami has the main character lower himself into a disused well in order to contemplate his existence. Could Elisa have had a romantic vision similar to this contemplation in her mind when deciding to lower herself into the tank? Upon further investigation of Elisa's Tumblr, we can see that she actually references the author Murakami a few times, but it is unknown if she actually read his works. What interested Human Plumber, however, was a link to a New York Times interview Elisa had shared that featured the author. In this interview, Murakami describes the first memory he had as a child. He had wandered out of his house at the age of 3 and crossed the road, only to fall into a creek. The water swept him downstream toward a dark and terrible tunnel. Just as he was about to enter it, however, his mother reached down and saved him. "I remember it very clearly," he said. "The coldness of the water and the darkness of the tunnel, the shape of that darkness. It's scary. I think that's why I'm attracted to darkness." On Elisa's Tumblr, you can find multiple images organized into the tag watery. Some of these images depict people submerged in water with peaceful expressions on their faces. Could Elisa have shared an interview which mentioned Murakami's near-death experience with water because she found his experience fascinating? Human Plumber certainly thinks so. They believe that Elisa was attracted to the beauty and tragedy of floating underwater. Her judgment altered by a possible psychotic episode, Elisa might have wanted to experience the coldness, stillness, and darkness of the water tank. Speculating further on this theory, maybe being exposed to Murakami's dreamlike literature could have influenced Elisa to seek out this romantic respite from reality. In the Murakami interview, the interviewer states, "The signature pleasure of a Murakami plot is watching a very ordinary situation, like riding an elevator, boiling spaghetti, ironing a shirt, turn suddenly extraordinary. A mysterious phone call, a trip down a magical well, a conversation with a sheep man. Maybe even a girl on a roof stargazing at night, climbing into a water tank and suddenly finding true peace within herself." Could Elisa have been hoping for something like that to occur? This comment in reply to the Reddit post brings in other factors that could have led Elisa to climb into the tank. The fact that she got kicked out of a live TV show production for seeming suspicious. The fact that her roommates at the hotel complained about her erratic behavior and she got moved to a new room. She was probably feeling extremely low after these events, coupled with her reduction in medication. It makes sense to me that she would be seeking peace, and based on the watery images, seems like she associated the idea of floating in water with peace. Human Plumber ends the thread by asking users to weigh in on their theory, and I ask all of you to do the same. Do you find this theory convincing, or are the connections made too much of a stretch? In my opinion, this theory humanizes Elisa as a creative young adult looking for peace during an overwhelming time in a strange place. This theory is much more thoughtful than the completely ignorant belief that Elisa was just a crazy person that was off her meds. It is also the most plausible to me, given the unrestrained poetic nature of Elisa's personality. A personality which tragically can now only be garnered through preserved social media posts. The retellings of the tragic death of Elisa Lam are often sensationalized and missing vital details, leaving people to create uninformed theories based on the limited information they have. This is unacceptable at this point in time, now knowing the truth behind most of the mystery in this case. I hope this video did not fall prey to this mistake, but instead give you a look through a lens that paints Elisa as a human being, flawed yet trying, as all are. Thank you for watching. Catch you later.